Only the wind made a soft sound as it blew red dust across the empty desert. The research outpost stood alone in that vast wasteland like a forgotten shell. Inside, one man worked quietly. Ethan Carter, a human engineer, lived there alone. His job was to keep the old power tower running so the nearby colonies could still get energy. It had been 97 days since he had seen another person. His food came from a supply drone once every 2 months. He had learned to talk to himself just to feel less alone. That night, he sat at his small desk, fixing a broken energy core. The machine gave off a weak hum, and the light above his head flickered. He sighed and rubbed his eyes. Then something strange happened. The light turned completely white for a second, brighter than any lamp. The air around him vibrated, and a faint humming filled the room. Ethan froze. His first thought was that a storm was hitting the tower again, but there was no shaking, no thunder. Only that sound, smooth and steady, like a living heartbeat. He turned toward the door. The sound was coming from outside. Ethan walked to the small window and looked out. The desert stretched endlessly under the 2 moons. Nothing moved. Then, as he leaned closer, the light flashed again, this time from the sky. A golden streak fell across the horizon, moving too slowly to be a meteor. He whispered to himself, "That's a ship." A crash followed, distant but clear. A trail of fire rose from behind the dunes. Ethan's pulse raced. He grabbed his coat, his helmet, and his old flashlight. It had been a long time since anything exciting happened here. The air outside was cold and thin. Each breath felt heavy, even with his mask on. He walked across the sand toward the smoke in the distance. After 15 minutes of climbing over dunes, he saw it, a wrecked pod half buried in dust. The metal was silver white, unlike any design he knew. Symbols glowed faintly on its side, curved and beautiful. He moved closer, heart pounding. The door of the pod was open, and steam escaped from the cracks. Inside, he saw movement. Someone was there. "Hey, are you okay?" he called. No answer. He stepped inside. The light from his flashlight hit a figure lying on the floor. It was a woman, tall, thin, dressed in something that shimmered like glass. Her skin was pale, almost glowing, and long silver hair fell around her shoulders. She wasn't wearing a helmet. Ethan's eyes widened. Impossible. He knelt beside her. Her chest moved slowly. She was breathing, though there was no oxygen here. He touched her wrist. Her skin was warm, too warm for the freezing air. When his hand brushed her arm, her eyes opened suddenly. They were violet, deep, bright, and unlike any human eyes he had ever seen. For a moment, both of them just stared. She whispered, voice soft and shaky, "Don't. Call them." Ethan blinked. "Call who?" "Anyone," she said weakly. "Please." Then her eyes closed again. He looked around. There was no time to think. If she stayed here, she would die from exposure or whatever strange energy her ship had released. He lifted her carefully. She was lighter than he expected. "I don't know who you are," he muttered, "but you're not dying out here." He carried her back through the desert, the wind pressing against him with every step. By the time Ethan reached his outpost, the first light of Mars's dawn was rising. He laid the woman on his bed and pulled a blanket over her. Her breathing steadied, and the color returned to her face. Ethan removed his helmet and sat beside her. His hands trembled slightly. Whoever she was, she didn't look human, but she looked alive. Hours passed. The storm outside faded. He tried running a scan on her with his old medical device, but it gave only errors. He sighed. Figures. Alien tech, human tools. No match. He turned away for a second to pour some water. When he looked back, her eyes were open again. She sat up slowly. "Where am I?" "This is an old human research base," Ethan said. "You crashed a few miles away." Her eyes darted around the room. "You helped me." "Yeah, you'd be frozen if I hadn't." She looked down, then met his gaze. "Thank you." Her voice was calm now, soft but clear. There was something musical in the way she spoke, like every word carried emotion. Ethan nodded. "You're welcome. But I need to ask." What are you? She was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, My name is Lyra. I am not from your world. Ethan swallowed. So you're alien? Lyra tilted her head. Your word for it, yes. He laughed nervously. Well, that's new. Usually aliens don't just walk into my room. Lyra's lips curved slightly. It might have been a smile. I didn't mean to. My ship was attacked. By who? She looked away. By those who want me gone? Ethan frowned. Gone? Why? She closed her eyes. Because of what I know. For a long time, neither of them spoke. Ethan made her a cup of warm water, but she only held it, staring at the steam. Her hands trembled slightly. He finally said, You should rest. The storm will keep anyone away for a while. She nodded and lay back, but her eyes stayed open, fixed on the ceiling. Later, as Ethan checked the external sensors, he caught her reflection in the metal panel. She was studying the small photo on his desk, a picture of Earth, blue and bright. That's your home, she said softly. Ethan turned. Yeah, haven't been there in 2 years. It is beautiful, she murmured. I saw it once from far away. He stared. You've been near Earth. She nodded slowly. Long ago. Something in her tone made him pause. You mean your people visited Earth? Lyra looked at him, eyes full of old sadness. Visited, watched, learned. Long before your history began. Ethan frowned. That's impossible. She smiled faintly. For you, maybe. Then her expression darkened. My people Letians built their world using knowledge stolen from yours. The truth was buried for centuries. When I found the proof, they wanted me silenced. Ethan leaned forward. You mean your technology came from humans? Yes. Your ancestors inspired ours. But our leaders erased that truth. They feared that admitting it would destroy their pride. He sat back, stunned. Humanity had always thought of itself as the younger race, the weaker one. But if Lyra was right, humans had planted the first seed of galactic science without even knowing. Why tell me this? He asked quietly. Because they will come, she said. And when they find me, they will not ask questions. They will erase anyone who knows the truth, including you. Ethan stared at her, trying to find words. Then I guess we better make sure they don't find you. Lyra blinked, surprised. You would protect me? He shrugged. You crashed here. You needed help. That's enough for me. She looked at him for a long moment, then whispered, You're not like the others. Others? Most humans I met before looked at me with fear. You look at me like a person? Ethan smiled slightly. Well, you look tired, not terrifying. For the first time, she laughed a small, gentle sound that filled the quiet room. As the day passed, Ethan showed her how his outpost worked. She touched the old machines with wonder, tracing the wires and screens like a child discovering something new. Your technology is simple, she said, but honest. It does what it must without deception. He chuckled. That's one way to describe outdated junk. She tilted her head. Sometimes old things hold more truth than new ones. Ethan watched her for a moment. She looked peaceful now, but he could still see fear hiding behind her calm face. Something deep inside told him that her story was far from over. That night, as darkness covered the desert again, Ethan checked the radar. 3 unknown signals appeared near the horizon fast. Sharp, not human ships. His stomach turned cold. Lyra, he called, we have a problem. She stood beside him instantly, her eyes glowing faintly. They've found me, your people. Yes, the royal hunters. Ethan cursed under his breath. Can we hide you somewhere? There is no safe place, she said quietly. They can sense the energy I carry. Then we move, he said. There's an old cum tower 30 kilometers east. If we reach it, we might block their signal. Lyra hesitated. You would come with me? They could kill you. He looked straight at her. Then I guess I better walk fast. Something soft flashed in her eyes, respect. Maybe even affection. You are strange, Ethan Carter. Yeah, I get that a lot. They left before dawn. The wind was strong, and dust rose around them like ghosts. Ethan carried a pack with tools and water. Lyra walked beside him without effort. Her steps barely touched the sand, leaving no footprints. As they crossed a ridge, Ethan stopped to catch his breath. "How can you walk like that? It's like you're floating." Lyra smiled faintly. "Our bodies adapt to energy fields. The ground does not pull us the same way it pulls you." He shook his head. "You make it sound like magic." "It is not magic," she said softly. "Just forgotten science." They walked in silence for a while. The horizon glowed with pale light. Somewhere behind them, the faint roar of engines echoed through the thin air. "They're close," Ethan said. Lyra looked back. "If they capture me, you must not speak my name. Promise me." "I'm not leaving you," he said firmly. She reached out and touched his hand. Her fingers were warm, her touch light as air. "You are kind," she whispered. "That is why you must live. The secret I hold could destroy both our worlds. If I fail, you must remember it and tell the truth one day." Ethan met her gaze. "Then don't fail." Lyra's violet eyes softened. "You speak like a soldier, an engineer," he said, smiling. "But I fix more than machines." Her lips curved. "Then perhaps you were sent to fix something greater." By midday, they reached the base of the old communication tower. It stood half buried in sand, rusted and silent. Ethan climbed up the lower platform, clearing dust from the control panel. Lyra stood bellow. The sky burned red as 3 silver ships descended through the thin Martian air. Their engines roared like thunder over the silent desert. Ethan and Lyra stood at the base of the old tower, dust swirling around them. Lyra's eyes shone faintly, reflecting the growing light. "They are here," she said quietly. "My father's royal guards." Ethan clenched his jaw. "Can we hide?" She shook her head. "They already know my energy. Hiding now would only delay them for minutes." He looked at her, worry in his eyes. "Then what's the plan?" Lyra turned toward the horizon. "To make them see the truth." Before Ethan could speak, the ground trembled as the ships landed nearby. The wind rushed outward, carrying sand and fire. 3 figures stepped out, wearing bright armor that shimmered like glass and light combined. They carried no visible weapons, yet power surrounded them like a storm. The first one, taller than the rest, stepped forward. His helmet opened with a hiss, revealing a face calm and cold. His silver hair matched Lyra's, and his eyes held the same violet light. "Lyra," he said, his voice deep and echoing slightly, "you should not have left Alicia. Your father grieves." Lyra's voice trembled, though she stood straight. "Does he grieve, or does he fear?" The man's expression hardened. "You have broken sacred law. You carry forbidden knowledge. Come with us, now." Ethan took a step forward. "Wait, she's done nothing wrong." The guard's eyes flicked to him, scanning. A human. His tone was almost disgusted. "You helped her?" She crashed. "I saved her life," Ethan said calmly. "That's not a crime." "To us it is," the guard replied. "She carries what should never exist, half-blood of 2 worlds. She must be returned for purification." Aru's face paled. "Purification," she repeated softly. "You mean death?" The guard didn't answer. His silence was enough. Ethan's heart pounded. "You can't just take her. She's not a threat to anyone." "Be silent," the guard snapped. "This matter is beyond you." Ethan stood his ground. "Not anymore." Lyra looked at him with wide eyes, pain and fear mixed together. "Ethan, please," she whispered. "Don't," but it was too late. The guards raised their hands, and a wave of shimmering energy burst forward, knocking Ethan back. He hit the sand hard but rolled to his knees, gasping for breath. His body ached, but he forced himself up again. "Stop!" Lyra cried, stepping between him and the guards. Her hands glowed, forming a soft golden light. "If you harm him, you will answer to me." "You are in no position to command," the lead guard said coldly. "You are under royal order to return." Lyra's glow grew stronger. "If I go back, my people will destroy the truth forever. I won't let that happen." The guard hesitated. "You would stand against your own blood?" Lyra looked at Ethan for a moment. I would stand for what is right. The guards moved closer, forming a triangle around her. Their armor shimmered, and the air began to vibrate. Ethan knew they were about to strike. He grabbed a broken metal rod from the sand, useless against their power, but he had to try. Ethan, no. Lyra shouted, but he didn't stop. As the nearest guard raised his glowing hand, Ethan swung. The rod hit the armor and cracked with a burst of light, throwing him backward again. The energy burned his gloves, but he didn't care. One guard turned to finish him, but Lyra stepped forward, both hands raised. A wave of golden energy burst outward, throwing all three guards off balance. The sand exploded around them. Lyra's eyes glowed fiercely. Enough. Her voice echoed through the air like thunder. The guards froze for a moment, then the leader lowered his weapon. You have grown stronger, he said slowly. Too strong for your own kind? Lyra's glow faded a little. Strength is not the enemy. Lies are. Then you leave us no choice. The guard raised a small silver sphere and pressed it. A distant hum began deep and heavy. The air shimmered, and a massive shadow appeared in the sky above them. It was a larger ship, her father's vessel. Lyra looked up, eyes wide. He came himself. Ethan stepped beside her. Your father? She nodded, her voice shaking. King Alaric, the ruler of Alicia. The sky opened as the royal ship descended, glowing with blue fire. A long platform extended from its side, and a tall figure walked down slowly, surrounded by light. He looked almost human, but older, regal, with silver robes that glowed faintly. His eyes were the same violet as Lyra's, but colder, sharper. When he spoke, his voice filled the air like music and thunder mixed. My daughter, he said. You bring shame to your name. Lyra bowed her head slightly. Father. Ethan watched, unsure if he should move. The king's presence alone felt like standing before a storm. King Alaric stepped closer, his gaze falling on Ethan. And this is the human who hides you? Ethan swallowed. Yes, and I do it again. The king's expression didn't change. You are brave. Foolish, but brave. He looked back at Lyra. You risked everything for this creature? Lyra lifted her chin. He is not a creature. He saved my life when your guards would have left me to die. Alaric's eyes darkened. He is not of our kind. He is beneath us. No, Lyra said firmly. He is where we came from. The king's calm cracked for the first time. You dare repeat that lie here? It's not a lie. Lyra shouted, her voice breaking. Our history began with humans. You know it's true. Alaric's eyes flashed with anger. Enough. The air trembled. Sand rose into the air as energy crackled around him. Ethan stepped forward, shielding his eyes. Stop this, he yelled. She's telling the truth. Alaric turned to him. You know nothing of truth, human? Maybe, Ethan said, his voice steady, but I know what I see. And what I see is a father trying to erase his own daughter because he's afraid of her. The guards looked uncertain. Lyra's eyes filled with tears. The king's voice dropped lower. You speak boldly for one so small. Ethan took a slow breath. Small or not, I won't let you take her. For a long moment, no one moved. Then, slowly, the king lifted his hand. Energy formed at his palm, glowing white-blue. Lyra stepped in front of Ethan. Father, please, don't do this. Step aside, Alaric said quietly. This ends now. Lyra shook her head. If you destroy him, you destroy the last piece of what we were meant to be. The king hesitated. His eyes flickered not with rage this time, but with something older, sadder. You sound like your mother, he said softly. Lyra's breath caught. You loved her once. I loved her foolishness, he said, and it cost me everything. She gave you life, Lyra said. She gave you me. Alaric's hand trembled slightly. The energy in his palm dimmed. And you would give me ruin. Lyra looked up at him with tears shining in her violet eyes. Maybe ruin is what we need to remember who we are. The desert wind grew quiet. For the first time, The great ruler of Alicia looked tired. Ethan stood still, barely breathing. Finally, the king spoke again, voice lower. If I let you live, what then? You will tell the humans our secret? You will break the fragile peace we built. Lyra wiped her tears. No, I will tell both our worlds the truth. Not to divide them, but to heal them. Her father looked at her for a long time. Then he asked, do you truly believe peace can be built on such a truth? Lyra nodded. It is the only way it can last. The wind carried silence across the sand. The king closed his eyes, then turned his gaze to Ethan. And you, human, what would you do with such knowledge? Ethan hesitated. Tell the truth, when the time is right. Not before. Alaric studied him for a moment, then gave a faint, bitter smile. You speak like a man who has lost much. I've lost enough to know what's worth saving, Ethan replied quietly. The king sighed and looked at Lyra again. If I return without you, the council will call me weak. Lyra stepped closer. Then tell them the truth died in the storm. Let me live among the humans until they are ready to know. Alaric was silent for a long time. Then, slowly he lowered his hand. The light faded completely. You are still my daughter, he said softly. And I will not destroy what remains of your mother. Lyra's eyes widened. Father. He turned toward his guards. Return to the ship. Tell the council the princess was lost. The guards hesitated. Your Majesty, do as I say, Alaric commanded. His voice left no room for question. They bowed and left without another word, disappearing into the ship. Lyra stood trembling as her father looked back at her one last time. The worlds are not ready, he said quietly. But perhaps one day they will be. Then he walked away. The ship rose slowly into the sky, its blue fire fading into the clouds. Ethan and Lyra watched until it vanished completely. Only the soft wind remained. Hours passed. The desert grew quiet again. Ethan sat beside the broken tower, looking up at the pale sky. Lyra sat beside him, her hands resting on her knees. So, now what? He asked. Lyra smiled faintly. Now I live, quietly, among your people. Ethan chuckled softly. You sure about that? Humans aren't exactly gentle. I am half of them, she said. Perhaps that is enough. He looked at her. And your father? He will protect the lie a little longer, she said softly, until the truth is ready to be heard. Ethan nodded slowly. Guess we both have secrets to keep. Lyra looked at him, her eyes shining. Thank you, Ethan Carter, for believing in what even my people forgot. He smiled. You don't need to thank me. Just don't vanish without saying goodbye next time. She laughed quietly. I promise. Lyra stayed with Ethan in the outpost, learning human ways, studying machines, and even fixing the old tower better than he ever could. Together they sent coded messages to nearby colonies, pretending she was a technician from Earth.